Alright guys, so this is the page that we will create in this tutorial. We will use just HTML, JavaScript and CSS. You don't need anything to get started. You only need Visual Studio Code or some other code editor and some web browser. So let's get into it. Before we start, I just want to quickly ask you, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It helps me out a lot and it's free. Alright, so let's get started. First of all, I got here open the Visual Studio Code. In here we will create a file called index.html. And also we will create a file called main.css, and inside here we will write our CSS, and inside here we will write our HTML. But first of all, let me just go ahead and go to the page of unsplash.com. I'm not sure whether you are aware of this page, but this is actually a pretty good page where you can get high resolution photos for free and you can use them wherever you want, and you don't have to credit the author or whatever. So let me just go ahead and get this one, and let me just download it for free. You can obviously pick whatever photo you want. Anyway, it's downloaded, so let me just drag and drop it straight into the Visual Studio Code. Okay, can't do that like this. So right here I will just drop it, and let me just rename it to something like image. This will be much better. Cool, and inside here we will create our HTML. So the cool thing in VS Code is that you can create a basic template, basic HTML template, while just typing the exclamation mark and then hitting this one. And as you can see, for some reason it's just moved. Yeah, there it is. This is just the very simple basic HTML structure with the document where we have title and stuff like that. So first of all, let me just link the style sheets. So inside here I will just write a link with the relation being style sheet, and the href to it would be to the main.css, and that's pretty much it. And inside here we will create just some sort of div with the class of section, and inside of this one we will have just very simple HTML structure. This would be just an image with the source of ing, why not, .jpg, and we obviously need to add some sort of alt to it, but I will leave that up to you. Close this one, and then we will have some sort of h1 heading with the countdown. So let me just say id equals to countdown, like this. Okay, so let me just put some sort of placeholder in here, one, I don't know, 22, and then 20 or whatever. This really doesn't matter, but yeah, that's our countdown. And let me just start actually the live server. So what you can do is go, if you have some sort of extension, you can just install it, you know, like there is extensions right here. If you type in here live server, it will be installed, and you can just essentially start the live server just like I started it right here. It says just that the server started at port 5500. So you know, just install a live server and then just go to localhost and then 5500 the port, and there it is. There is our page. So cool. Let me just style it up a little bit. Let me close this one and let me go to the main.css. Let me go back here and let me close it. And in here what we want to do is just style it a little bit. So in here let me just do this. So section, and we want to target the image inside, and we want to say that the width will be 100%, and the height will be also 100%. Easy. And let's just say the object fit to this will be cover, I think. Cool. So you may wonder right now whether this cover is important or not. Let's just see. If I just remove it, what happens? Okay, pretty much nothing really happens. I think that it's not taking the full 100% of the container. So yeah, let me just do this. That section will have the position of relative, and we also need to say that the width will be 100% and the height will be also 100%, just like this. Let's see how that looks now. Okay, there it is. So it's just taking not the entire space. Let me check what adds the margin and the padding, because we obviously don't want that. So I just opened the developer tools and let me just hover over this. Yes, so that's one. It should be, I think, if I just make it a little bit larger, I think that it should be added just to the body tag, right? By default we have some sort of margin to it. So we can just reset it in here. So inside here I will just type body, and let's just say the margin will be equal to 0, because we don't want that. And let me just save it. There it is. Nice. I'm not sure whether it's 100% height. For some reason it doesn't seem like it, but whatever. Let's just move on for now, and let's just target the we might use the countdown ID, but let's just use the H1 and keep it pretty much consistent throughout this whole code. So let me just say that the font size will be, I don't know, something really large like 5rem, and let's just say that the font weight will be something really large like 900. Let's see, there it is. So we need to make it a little bit larger. Let's just go with 10. Okay, maybe even 15. And let me get some sort of cool fonts. So for that I will just use the Google page for Google Fonts, right? This one, fonts.google.com. In here you can pretty much use any font that you want for free. You don't have to host, you don't have to download anything. You can just, you know, simply copy paste a little bit of code and it just works. So that's pretty cool. I very much like this one, and I also like the Lato, this one, that's also very nice, and like OpenSense and Roboto, that's pretty much used on every other page. So let me just go ahead. Railway is also like very popular, and PT Sense is also pretty popular. So obviously you can pick whatever you want. Let me just actually try this one to make things a little bit more interesting. Okay, so we can just download, or we can just select this style, and then in here we can just link it or import it via CSS. Let me just go ahead and use this linked it. So I will just copy paste this tag. So copy and put it inside of our HTML head like this, and that should do it. And let's also just take this one and put it into the body, for example, because obviously we just want to use it one time. And this font weight is pretty much useless because this one only has like 400 font weight. So let's see how it looks. Yeah, there it is. It looks actually pretty cool. Okay, so let's just use maybe something like 20, and let's just put it right into the middle. So let's just use position of absolute, and let's also style it. So let's just say top will be 50% and left will be 50%. So this will be very consistent, and when we leave it this way, it actually starts at the 50 and 50, which we don't want. So what we want to do is just transform it back to the start. So we will just use transform, translate, and we will just use minus 50% and minus 50%, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there it is. I think that this should actually work. It seems to be working pretty much, although the height just doesn't seem right. Let me just try to debug it via the console. So if I just hover over, we can see that the countdown is actually very large. Let's see, section is this large, okay, and the countdown just, wow, why is that? Position absolute, the section should be position relative, so that's cool. Width and height should be 100%. Oh, I know what's the reason. Wow, so stupid. Yeah, by default there is just some margin added to the heading, and if we just use some really large font size, it just caused the whole thing to be like really large, essentially. So we just need to remove the default margin and it just works. Okay, so let me just set the color of this to be something like white. Let's see how that looks. Cool. That looks much better. We can even just do something like background color of something like RGBA, and we can just set red, green, blue and alpha. So we can just say that this one will be 0, this one will be also 0. So this should be just number between 0 and 255, as you probably know, and this alpha is essentially just opacity. So it adds some sort of layer like this one to it, which is pretty cool. Though we just need to once again take a look, because there is still some sort of margin in here for some reason. It's interesting because we don't have any margin to it, yet it still doesn't take the entire space that's available. Yeah, there it is. It doesn't just take. We can maybe try to fix it by just setting the height to 100%, which you probably shouldn't be doing, but whatever. Yeah, there it is. It just seems to be working now. Okay, and we can also do the same for width, but that doesn't make any sense, and we can just maybe brighten it up a little, so something like this. That's maybe too bright. Let's just use 0.3. Yeah, it's something like in between. I think that this looks actually pretty cool. Okay, we can maybe try to make the text a little bit smaller, something like 16 or whatever. Yeah, and let's just set the width of this one to be also 100%. Okay, and let's just align the text to center. So text align to center. And right now we actually don't need the this one, so we can just say left 0 and just remove this one, because we are just moving it all over the place and it doesn't really matter. So yeah, there it is. And okay, I think that this actually pretty much works now. We can try to play with this a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with how this looks. So we can just maybe go ahead and start the JavaScript and try to figure out how to make the countdown. So I will just create a new script tag, and inside of this one we will write our JavaScript. So first of all, let me just get the countdown element. So countdown, and what we will do is just go ahead and via the document and via the function or the method getElementById, we can just address the countdown element. So that's this one. You know, we will get it into the variable, and now we can just write the function. Let's just call this one update with some sort of time, and this should be function like this. Cool. And in this one, what we will do is actually, well, first of all, we need some sort of date like this one, like the starting date or the countdown date where we are counting to. So let's just use a let of, let's just say countdown. Okay, let's just call it this way. And this will be just a new date of, I don't know, some sort of format. What we can do in here is just use it like this, so some sort of like year, month, date or whatever. So let's just try to do it via a string. I think that this should work, so we can just use 20 and then like 12 and then 31. We can just try to do that, and then there is a method of getTime, so this will just get us the time. I'm honestly not sure whether this will work. Okay, so just to be clear, I'm really not sure whether this will work. Anyways, we can try it out. We can just debug it and we will see how it works. So in here we can use the date function in order to return the current time. Okay, so this will be just the now time, and this will be the time that we are counting down to, and we would probably need to rename it because we have the element in here. So let's just call this one countdown element, or like DOM countdown or whatever. Yeah, that's better. Cool. So now what we can do is just actually subtract these. So let's just create a difference variable, and this will be just equal to countdown minus now, and let me just console log this. So console log the difference. Cool. And let me also call this update function. So we will just change it so that it updates automatically every second, but for now I think that we can do. Cool, it actually seems to be working. We have like the number of, I think that this should be seconds. I'm actually not sure whether this is in seconds. So let me actually try out this date. So now it's 27, so let's just use like 28. And this should be like, if it's in seconds, it should be roughly, I don't know, 63,060 times like, I don't know, a couple of, so it should be somewhere around like underneath, definitely underneath 100,000. So this is just 1, 2, 3, this is another 3, and this is, yeah, so that's just much. I think that this is like divided by 1,000 and we will get seconds. Yeah, so cool. Alright, so we can just divide it by 1,000, and this will be the second difference. So seconds will be the difference divided by 1,000. Cool. Now we need to count the days. So every day is like, so we have like, let's see, 60 seconds is 1 minute. Then if we time it times 60 is 1 hour. So this is 1 hour. And times 24 is actually 1 day, right? So if we just divide this seconds number by this number, right? So this is just our constant for essentially just 1 day, you know. If we divide the seconds by this number, we would get the number of days, right? So let me just say let days will be equal to seconds divided by this entire number, which is just 1 day essentially. Alright, and let me just actually console log the days just in case, so that we know that we are on the right track. So console log and days. Nice. I'm not sure whether you were able to see that through my head. Okay, so days is just 0 dot, yeah, that works. Cool. We obviously don't want the decimal point behind, so we just need to do math.floor, and then, wow, for some reason it just removed these seconds. Alright, anyways, let me just put it back there. Nice. So this will just count the number of days. Then what we can do is just count the number of hours, of course, and then minute. Like, yeah, so days, hours, minutes, and then seconds. Okay, so hours, minutes, and then seconds. This should be minutes, and this should be seconds. Alright, and okay, so this is days. For hours, we just need to divide it by 60 times 60, obviously. And then, like, yeah, we need to, each and every time we need to remove it, right? So we can just say in here the seconds will be equal to seconds minus, so you know, like we count the number of days and then we need to subtract those days from the seconds, right? So that it makes sense. So we will just use the modulo operation, right? That makes sense. So modulo this, cool. So then we can count the number of hours. Then we can do just the same. So like this, remove the number of hours. Then we will have the number of minutes. So this just divided by 60. Yeah, cool. And we can just remove it via modulo. The modulo operator is actually pretty cool. It's just the reminder after the division of 60. So that's actually what we need. And then we have just the seconds. I'm not sure whether we need to floor this, but anyway, if we just use it like this, so math floor on this thing, we don't need this anymore. So this will be 1 minute, this will be 1 hour. So I think that this should work. So let me just go ahead and console log days, hours, minutes, and seconds. And let's see, if I open this up, we can see 0 days, 6 hours, 3 minutes, and 17 seconds. When I take a look at the time, it actually works. Yeah, it actually works. So that's pretty cool. We can just set it up to the 31st, I think. Okay, yeah, that seems to be working. Cool. So what we can do now is just use the set interval function. So inside here we will just use the set interval function, and we will just pass out the callback. So function that will just call the update. We might even just use the update directly, but yeah, let's just not complicate things, and let's just create a function that will call the update each and every second. Okay, so if we take a look, there it is. That seems to be working very nicely. Cool. And we probably need some sort of like if the difference is 0, right? So inside here we need to check if the difference is like smaller or equal to 0. We would just return false. Let me just do it a little bit simpler way. So we will have just some constant. It's not a constant, it's just a stop variable essentially, which will be called false. By default it will be false. In here we will just set it, the stop, to true. Okay, true, that's it. We might want to do something like else, or it really doesn't matter that much. So we can just say like if yeah, and in here we probably need to return, because if it is 0, there's essentially no need to count these, or like if it is 0 we still want to count these. That's true. So let's just keep it this way, and inside here we say if we don't want to stop, we want to call the update function, essentially like this. And inside of the update function we actually need to set the text to this one. So we will just do this dump countdown, and this should be like inner HTML, I think, and we can just set it to some sort of value. And in here we can just do like days. We can maybe try to join it, so we will have like days, like an array of things. I'm not sure whether you can actually do like join in here, like sort of Python join. Hopefully we can. Let's see. So if I reload the page, yeah, it seems to be working. There it is. there it is. This is a working prototype of the countdown thingy that we did. We can just, you know, change this to something like 14 RAM, so maybe a little bit smaller. Nice. And there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, it helps me out a lot and it's free. Also, if you want to support the channel, there is a Skillshare link down below in the description. You can get Skillshare Premium for free for 2 months, so if you want to support the channel, that would be great if you register via that link. Anyways, I will see you next time.